Today, basically, we're going to be having a look at the latest science and technology news from around the world. We're going to be looking at some things, basically, that are quite frankly a little bit boring. We're going to be taking a look at some things that make science fiction look so tame. That's it, that you'll question everything around you. So, my name is Matthew Griffin. I'm going to be your host, and let's get going. Now, I've talked about this particular one before, so December 22nd. So, that was on the latest video blog. So we're going to be talking about what Anthropic have been up to. Now, when we have a look at artificial intelligences today, it's estimated that in 2026, we will run out of data to feed these monstrous artificial intelligences that are costing anywhere between $200 million and $1 billion to train now as we start looking towards GPT-5 and those kinds of other things. Now, one of the biggest problems that artificial intelligence companies have is sucking in all of the data that they do find. So Anthropic, to try to solve this, has created something called the MCP Protocol, which frankly is an open source universal protocol that they hope will be widely adopted, that will let them quite literally suck in all data into their gigantic artificial intelligence model's brain so that it can learn more and it can take over the world faster. And actually, there are a lot of new things coming through with Anthropic. So I'm going to cover those in some of the other video blogs. But frankly, some of those just are nuts, such as the CEO Dario's belief that by 2026, 2027, AI will surpass all humans at the vast majority of all tasks. So stay tuned for that one. But yeah, we won't cover that in detail at the moment. Next up, we've got this here, so sort of, going forwards. Generative artificial intelligence has been designing genes or DNA sequences that turn genes off. Now, this isn't particularly new. If anything, it's a slight step back from what I've talked about before, because we've seen 3 artificial intelligences, including Google DeepMind, that over the past 2 years have been designing fully synthetic human genomes. So if you kind of think about Star Wars, where you have an artificial intelligence that designs an artificial human that is then grown in a test tube, we actually have some external wombs. So when we think of, say, the Clone Wars in Star Wars, this starts becoming much more of a reality when we talk about artificial intelligence creating designer humans that don't have biological parents, that are grown in tubes, basically on a foreign planet. And then we've seen AI also developing partially synthetic and fully synthetic bacteria and yeast cells. So as artificial intelligence masters the code of life, its ability to create fully alien synthetic life forms is getting much, much better. But in this case, it's been designing new DNA sequences to turn genes on and off. Now, if we start going down the little dystopian track, about 2 years ago, I saw a technology breakthrough. It was actually a vaccine breakthrough and a gene therapy delivery system breakthrough, where we were able to put a gene therapy into an mRNA solution, which we were then able to turn into an aerosol, and people would breathe in that aerosol. And if you had cystic fibrosis, then the genetic engineering therapy would essentially start rewriting your DNA so you no longer had it, or at least the symptoms basically were minimized. So when we have a look at how a lot of these different weird pieces of news connect, it's bonkers. So moving on to the next one. So Google is making an artificial intelligence that helps create infinite podcasts. But while we've seen podcasts between 2 experts in the past, so those are kind of 2 digital humans or 2 bots talking to one another, this is a little bit different. So this is relating to the future of education. Now, the idea behind this is that you take your notes that you've written in class, you put them into Google's Notebook LLM, and it then understands basically what those notes are. It creates 2 opposite characters to essentially debate those notes. So you turn your school notes into a podcast, and you can manipulate the character and the personalities and the kinds of conversations that the infinite podcasters actually have, so that you can understand your research notes even better, you can learn faster, etc., etc. So a little bit of a boring one. China, but nevertheless still significant. China has been developing some very, very large mothership drones, basically for its military. Now, China has been developing drones, drone swarms, and hypersonic drone swarms, which are still coming, but they're on the drawing board at least. Now, if you want to get your hypersonic drone swarms to a battlefield 3,000 miles away, most of them can't fly there themselves. So China's new drone mothership is quite simply that. You shove hundreds of drones into the mothership goes to the destination, say it's 3,000 miles away from Shanghai to wherever, Guam maybe, releases those drones into the environment. They're all using swarm artificial intelligence to communicate with one another, to do reconnaissance, basically to go and target different things and destroy them. So this is kind of the first example of a drone mothership that we've actually seen, and it's another example of China being one step, if not two steps ahead of pretty much the West, which is something that we're going to see more and more of if we don't pull our fingers out. Now, speaking of which, UK Flarebright. So UK Flarebright is a drone startup in the United Kingdom. They've now got a couple of Pentagon contracts, allegedly, a couple of UK MOD contracts as well. And what they've managed to do is they've managed to create GPS-free drones. Now, one of the problems that we're seeing in the military, as well as in the civilian theaters, are countries like Russia that are increasing the amount of GPS spoofing and GPS jamming that they're doing of civil aviation. Even cargo ships are being affected. We saw 32 cargo ships being listed at an airport a little while ago in Greece, which, let's face it, that's probably wrong. So as we see more interference from sovereign states when it comes to GPS, especially near conflict zones, especially military organizations are trying to find new ways to get to wherever it is that they want to get to, but using GPS-free navigation. So Flarebright have found a software solution to this. The UK Royal Navy has found another solution using quantum sensors and something called a quantum compass. But this is essentially the complete elimination of the use of GPS satellites in space. Now, I did say that something was going to get a little bit bonkers. The next NVIDIA, well, this particular company here, and I'll show you this. Over the past 5, 6, 7 years, I've been talking about the development of what we call brain organoids. Now, brain organoids are mini brains, so mini human brains that are grown outside of the human body. So it's quite literally brain in a jar, brain in a dish, brain in a computer rack. So this particular company here, Cortical Labs, has got investment from Amazon, and they've been developing this. There you go. Now, a little while ago, a couple of researchers put together something called BrainNet. Now, BrainNet was a human brain in a dish. They're only small, but it managed to outperform the world's best artificial intelligences at playing different games like Pong. So this is kind of a synthetic biological intelligence, moving way beyond anything that you think of today. Now, with Cortical Labs, what they've managed to do is they've, on the one hand, managed to grow lots of human mini brains in dishes, but they've now shoved them into these devices. So this is a fully functional biological computer. Now, they think they can actually rival NVIDIA with these biological computers. This company's out of Singapore, but it's Chinese backed. By putting lots and lots of these biological computers together, on the one hand, we think we can actually train new AIs to do new things in new ways, but for significantly less amounts of energy. And as I say, Amazon has actually now invested in this. So biological GPUs, anyone? Could be. And then finally, a little bit more boring. Shopify is using artificial intelligence of the traditional kind, more the machine learning kind, to try to figure out the cost, the internal cost of every Zoom meeting that they do. So they've figured out that every Zoom meeting that their employees have costs between $700 and $2,000 a piece, which is a lot. And they keep complaining. They say, we wouldn't go and spend $500 on a bunch of employees going and having a meal at a restaurant together to go and chat about the latest things. So in their case, what they are now trying to do is they are now trying to cut 322,000 hours of conference calls out of 2025. So good luck to them for that. And then if you want to actually read more about the latest science and technology news, then go to fanaticalfuturist.com. You can download my books. They're all free. You can go to the YouTube channel, so the Fanatical Futurist YouTube channel. There are 200 keynotes on there. There's God knows how many other videos. I think there are about 800 other videos on there at the moment. Everything is free. If you've got any questions, let me know. If you've got any comments, let me know. And if you want me to be talking about any kind of technology whatsoever, I cover it all, then just put that in the comments below, basically, and I'll make a little video about that as well for you. But aside from that, that's it from me. Goodbye. Take care.